Hey guys, on Original Jack of All Trades. Today we're going to be rotating the tires and checking the brakes. It's a 2017 Mazda CX9 Signature. It's my wife's car. Had it now for 3 months. Bought it back in February. It's now June. 4 months, whatever. It's been a great car so far. We really like it. We bought it used. It's got a 10-year powertrain warranty from the factory, but ever since we had it, we get a lot of brake noise, and I'm sure a lot of that is a tribute to having organic, or not organic, but ceramic brake pads on it. They tend, on this car, to have a lot of brake noise. I've read a lot of reviews about it. People say there's a lot of brake noise. So just to make sure the brakes are good, I'm going to pull the wheels off and tires off and rotate those while I'm at it, because I'm due for that as well. We've only put about 4,000 miles on it so far since we've had it. We don't drive a whole lot. But this is just kind of a run through on how you would rotate your tires, check your brakes, change your brakes if you needed to change them, or just change a flat tire, if nothing else. First thing you want to do, pull the car in to make sure it's on a flat level ground. You've got jacks, jack stands, make sure it's secure. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you got wheel chocks or some sort of way to keep it from rolling. You're going to have the vehicle in park, but just in case for some reason that transmission was faulty and it slipped out of gear. I've got my block here cut at an angle, and I've got one on the front side of that same wheel on the back, so that way it can't roll front or back. Then you're going to jack it up. So I jacked up the back first. I went off of the lower control arm here underneath of where the shock is, or the spring, excuse me. Jacked it up there, got it up high enough, put a jack stand underneath it. I put a block of wood on top of it. You know, that's probably not the smartest thing to do, but I don't want to beat up the pinch rail. If you were to jack up one just to change the tire on the side of the road, let's say, your jack kit would have you jack it up right there on the pinch rail. You'd pull the tire off and go for it. Anyways, so I put it on there, then I went up on the front. Same thing. Lower control arm, you can see I still got the jack there. It's always smart to leave your jack underneath it, even though it's resting on the jack stand. In case that failed and you were working on it, that jack would help catch it and it wouldn't land on you. Nobody wants to get hurt while doing a little DIY setup. Oh, sorry about that. Air compressor just kicked on. I am using air on this just because I have it available. If I didn't have it available, I would do it probably like most DIYers would. As soon as the air compressor kicks off, sorry about that guys, I forgot to kick that off before I started the video. Shut off here real soon. But what you're gonna do, so much quieter, is you're gonna get a 21mm socket, a breaker bar, a ratchet, whatever you're gonna use, and you're going to loosen these up. You're just gonna give them about a half a turn before you jack the car up. It's a little trick there. If you get it up in the air, even though it's in gear, you might have a little trouble because it's in the air, and now it's going to allow the wheel to rock back and forth and stuff like that. You just don't get as good enough bite on it. So you'll break them loose on the front and the back on one side. I never do all four at the same time, just as a safety precaution. So you'll break those all loose. I got this one. I already took these all off. I'm just kind of doing a tutorial on how you would do it. Anyways, I got all of them off so far. And these are hub-centric wheels, so even though all of them are off, it might be kind of stuck. So what I do is I give it a little pop here at the top, and it knocks it loose. It was a lot harder than that when I first pulled it off, but these are some decent-sized tires. And a lot of tires are directional, so especially on newer cars, so you'll go from the front to the back and the back to the front. Older cars, if you didn't have a directional tire on it, you could go from the front driver's side to the back passenger side and vice versa. Same thing, crisscross pattern. You always want to go back to front though, at the very least. Anyways, onto the brakes. The brakes look good. I already pulled everything apart and took a look at it. I did read reviews that the back brakes tend to eat up a lot more than the front, which is very, very non-traditional. But because these vehicles have a active braking system, hill assist, it has like a speedometer. So when you're doing your cruise control, it will check the distance between the front car and you, and will slow you down to keep that distance. Well, it uses the back brakes on that, so it tends to chew them up if you use it a lot. But they do make a lot of noise just overall. So these two bolts, there's one here on the bottom of your caliper, one on the top, both 17mm. I already busted them loose. And remember, when you're doing this, it's going to be reverse of what you're facing. So just got to make sure you're turning it left and you're not trying to tighten these. Now this, if you look here, your 17 millimeter head, and then it's a floating pin, so your caliper floats. Now the top pin and the bottom pin, well, bolts I should say, not even pins, now that I got it too tight. Anyways, the top and the bottom, they float. I'll grab my 17 millimeter here. Yeah, my 17 millimeter fingers. And you're gonna loosen them up, and they're different size pins. So the top bolt pin is a lot bigger than your bottom one. Your bottom one's pretty, I mean, it's decent size. It's a brake caliper pin, but they're gonna be different size. So don't get them mixed up. One will fit, one won't. I mean, it's round peg, square hole, something like that. Anyways, so you'll just pull that off. And you'll notice you got a little rubber boot there, kind of covers it, keeps it from getting grease and stuff in there. And you're just gonna keep wiggling, pulling, because it's now resting on there. So you just put a little up pressure on your caliper and pull your pin, boom. And when you go to put them back in, I always put a little bit of grease on here just to make sure that it can float and these are good in and out. So I already pulled this. You never want to take this off and just let it hang. So I take it off and I slip it kind of on top here, make sure it's secure and it's not going to fall down. These, I think, is where we are getting all of our noise. So you've got clips up here that the pads actually ride in. And when you pull them off, you can already kind of hear it. Just a little bit of vibration and it makes a ton of noise. So these also have these basically little backing plates on there. They're just sitting on there. So same thing on the back. They make a lot of noise, and the pads probably have 50% life still left on them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them, and you can pick up the tube of anti-squeal, little packets of anti-squeal, and you're gonna put it on the tips here, just on the ends. And then I go and I smear it all over. You can see where the pistons from the caliper are pressing on here, on this one, and you can also see where the teeth from the caliper, the outside, hold it in. Well, when you hit the brakes, it adds like a little bit of vibration because it's going round and round and round. You're just gonna put the anti-squeal on there and make sure you get a good liberal amount. Now it's red, so it's gonna look funky until as soon as you get dust and dirt on it, it sticks to it. It almost turns like a silicone, kind of rubbery. And it makes it so you don't get any more of that brake noise. I also take the caliper and you're gonna feel it, make sure there's no grooves that are big and gnarly and stuff like that in there. If there was, you'd have to change out your rotor. Sorry, I just said caliper, I think. Anyways, you'd have to change out your rotor, which if you had to do that, it'd be a couple more 17 millimeter bolts that hold your caliper bracket on. This one here, that one up top here. Let's see if I can get that in focus. And then you can kind of knock these with a rubber mallet on the back side here and it'll kind of pop it loose. Or you can put a bolt in here and start tightening it down and it'll hit the hub and pop that off. Sometimes you have to put a little pressure on there and smack the rotor with a rubber mallet to kind of get it to pop. Now on the back, it's the exact same thing as the front, except instead of 17 millimeter heads on the bolts, it's 14 millimeter. So same thing. I pulled these off, took a look at them. They look really good. I still have one bolt in here, or one nut holding my wheel on so it doesn't just flop off on me and bang the rim. But so far I've been really happy with this Mazda. It's really quiet, got a great sound system, drives better than any of the other SUVs I've driven. It really does drive like a kind of a four-door car, like a four-door sporty car, like an Audi, or anything along those lines. It just is a great vehicle. It's quiet. I mean, I just can't say enough great things about it. I really enjoy it. So same thing, I've already loosened these up. 14 millimeter, 14 millimeter. And I always check everything around in the car while I've got everything off. Notice anything funky, like I noticed there was a clip hanging down here where it had been taken apart at some point in time. And they didn't put it back. I mean, they just put it back together, but who knows? A branch could have caught it, knocked it loose, whatever. There's one bolt, there's another bolt. These look like they're both the same, so nothing to worry about there. So you got to remember, if you've got your e-brake on, you're gonna have to take it off before you do this. You got a wire here. This is for the active braking that the car does. And then you've also got your line here for your caliper. And I already pulled this apart, took a look at it. Pads look great, but same thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put that anti-squeal on there, get it all nice and cleaned up first before I do it. If you were to change out your brake pads, this right here is your piston, and you would have to spin this, and it spins counterclockwise, I believe. Double check that. And it would go in. At the same time, you'd want to watch your reservoir, your brake fluid reservoir, to make sure that it's not overfilling, because it might try and push so much fluid back if your brakes were real low that it would overflow into your engine bay. And brake fluid is very corrosive. It's very not toxic, but it's very corrosive towards everything, and it eats paint, it eats everything. So you always want to be really careful with that. Nobody wants to get that all over the inside of their car and ruin their car. So that's pretty much where I'm at here now. If I was to put it back together, you just put that back on, tighten it back down, take the wheel, put the wheel on the front, put the wheel on the back, tighten down your lug nuts, get them just snug. You lower the car down, and then you'll use a torque wrench, and you'll set your torque wrench, I believe, to 85 or 90 foot-pounds. I have to double check that as well. And then you crank it down. Once you got it down on the ground, snap it down, make sure your everything's nice and tight, and then you could release the pressure the rest of the way off your jack and lower it down and drive away. That's pretty much it, guys. It's pretty simple. If you have, I would say 1 to 10, this is pretty much like about a 3. It's a pretty straightforward. There's tons of videos on YouTube for it. This is just my little tutorial on what I'm doing here and how I do it. And it's, you can use air tools. I got air tools. I got a battery operated Ryobi impact over there. The impact works great. It just makes life really quick and easy. But when I go to tighten everything down, I always do it by hand, just because I want to make sure everything's straight and I don't cross-thread anything. All right, guys. Hope this video is helpful for you. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, all those good things. Appreciate you watching. Have a great day.